Hello, everyone. Today we're talking about gold, volatility, crypto, government spending, and a whole lot of other things. It's the three-quarter time wrap-up update on the markets. It's October going into November 2025, and we should have a chat about 2026 as well, and what's coming with the AI boom and AI spending, AI technology, productivity, so on and so forth, because there's plenty happening. But look, the first thing is that gold has performed very well. Been as high as about 4,350 US dollars, about 4,100 at the moment. But the reality is that commodity has outperformed. It's now got a total capitalization of approximately 30 trillion US dollars. That's 30 million. That's what a trillion is, a million. But it could all fit into about 22.5 by 22.5 by 22.5 meter cube, which you can stick on a tennis court, and you've probably heard that anecdote from other people. But look, central banks have been the main buyers, but other people have been buying as well, not just gold bugs, but people who've wanted that value anchor, because we've got a lot of paper currencies, a lot of fiat currencies, a lot of digital assets now, Bitcoin now, paper contracts. We've got shares and equities, real estate. There's a lot of stuff that isn't gold, isn't easy to, hoik around 200,000 US dollars in your hand. And you can do that with just over a kilo of gold. If you've got a couple of kilos, and you can walk around with about $500,000 US dollars. Yeah, that's not necessarily the safest thing to do, but if you choose to, you can do it. So those properties of gold that have had value over multiple millennia, so almost 10,000 years, multiple cultures, multiple languages, so on and so forth, it shows that gold's the real deal in terms of value. And it's the best performing asset over 20 years. And the reason for that is Bitcoin hasn't been around for 20 years. If it had, then Bitcoin would be the best asset. So it's got the longevity premium by a long shot. So that's why gold's done well. People want the coverage, the hedge, especially the central banks. And that brings us into volatility, because the markets are volatile. People are worried. They don't know what tariff rates are going to be. There's a lot of discussion going on. It's clear that America didn't sign up to deindustrialize Middle America after the Second World War, and they didn't sign up for Europe to demilitarize and for the American taxpayer to pick up the tab to the tune of 40 trillion US dollars. However, that's clearly what happened. So the American taxpayers are keen to rebalance things, and they've got someone who they think will do that for them. So volatility is here, along in relation to geopolitics, as well as people wondering how long the artificial intelligence boom will continue, the big build out, the hyperscalers using it. They're going to be spending more next year, I think, in many cases, 2026. And there's concerns about automation, how many people will lose their jobs. So it's a time of great change. And then in addition to that, we have crypto coming online, because the Genius Act has been passed, not the charity, the Clarity Act is looking like it'll pass post-Thanksgiving Day 2025, and that will make digital assets far more straightforward to deal with, so on and so forth. And you're seeing groups like Gemini and others coming out with their own sort of debit cards and MasterCards that have sort of cashbacks and all sorts of different offers and so on and so forth in crypto. So 2026 looks like it'll be a big year for crypto, and we're actually looking at about almost 200 ETFs, that are going to be coming out soon for altcoins when the government reopens. So for those of you who are interested, keep an eye on Bloomberg Technology podcast. They're on every weekday. Also Wall Street Week on Saturdays with David Weston. Bloomberg Technology has Ed Ludlow and Caroline, I forget her name now, she's new, but that's a very good podcast. Also Crypto 101 with the whole team there. They talk about all sorts of things. That's very interesting to inform yourself about crypto, because it is coming with benefits for rewards, payroll, and a whole range of other things for those companies and individuals who want to take it up. A lot more is going on the chain coming into 2030. In relation to artificial intelligence, I mean, We've had computerization over the past 40, 50 years in a big way. So typewriters through to computerization. And we've had the telephone since, I think, the 1870s, 1880s. And the reality is that people have wanted their technology to do more. In the early days of the telephone, people didn't really know what it was for in terms of using it all the time. It's okay to send a message, or to phone someone nearby in the early days, but they had to market it to get people to use it in a big way. Now that's changed over time. Now you can send data. Your phone was as well. So there's voice, data, all sorts of stuff you can do. But as options proliferate in terms of doing things and knowing things, that's when you need an artificial intelligence computer chip on your shoulder, basically. And by that I mean at the ready, to hand, rather than actually sitting on your shoulder, in order to help you with the vast quantities of data that are available. Because ultimately, you may not say it, but what you really want is access to a couple of 100,000 libraries, tens of millions of websites, if not hundreds of millions. You want access to trillions and trillions and trillions of terabytes. You're going to want access to, billions of watch hours, tens of billions of watch days, watch years even. You can't do that. I can't do it. Humans have 24/7, 52, and how long you live. So you need artificial intelligence to sift through material in the same way that NASA and space agencies need artificial intelligence to flip through trillions of images taken by tens of thousands of telescopes. We're not going to do it manually. It's got to be done with artificial intelligence. I'm going to pause there, mate. So there's a lot of need for this technology, a lot of need. So the build out's probably going to continue for a very long time. And I don't think that you'll see mass layoffs straight away. If anything, it'll create more work and it'll deal with the productivity issue. Just to let you know that governments are sort of smiling about artificial intelligence because it will deal with a productivity issue that they've had on the books for a very long time. Here in Australia, for the last 10 years, productivity not been good, let's be honest. Elsewhere, a bit better, but not great. AI should assist that in a big way. And then along with crypto, that should really help inflate economies so they can inflate their way out of the government debt. Because in case you haven't noticed, it's 3/4 wrap-up time, update time for 2025, and we don't really see governments dropping their spending. I'm not sure that governments are going to drop their spending. I wouldn't say I'm absolutely certain, but I'm pretty sure they won't because citizens like spending. So they have one way out, and that is to inflate their economies. And for that, you need productivity, investment, and new stuff, a lot of new stuff. And that means artificial intelligence and crypto. And hopefully AI can cut down health bills in a big way, deal with some nasty chronic terminal illnesses that are also very expensive. That's the problem with chronic terminal illnesses. They're actually also very expensive. Otherwise, we would have whacked them by now. So we need AI to help us there. And we need crypto to help us as well get around our post-medieval modernizing economy, which really needs a shot in the arm. It really needs a kick along. It really needs to pull its finger out. And crypto is the only way to do that. You're not going to reform payroll any other way, or British doctors still writing out their handwritten notes about their patients. You need AI to help you with that. That's the reality. So in one way, you could say I'm pretty optimistic about the future. The next 20 years should see a lot of investment, a lot of AI, a lot of crypto helping the economy and inflating us out of our debt problems globally. But there'll be a lot of transition there. And so the more that governments can sort of explain that, message that properly, and deal with the media to make sure the media helps message that properly, the better. Because there's a lot of change and they're going to try and kill a lot of birds with one stone, or one bag of stones to deal with multiple flocks of hundreds of birds, multiple hundreds of problems they want to kill with just one bag of stones. Let's put it that way, that analogy. And they want AI and crypto to increase productivity and economic activity and inflate us out of debt. And then they want the energy transition to clean stuff up and create more work as well, which which will happen. I mean, there's a lot of economic activity from now for the next 30 to 50 years. There's no doubt about that, which they will need as populations decline in certain countries. So all in all, things looking good, but people are certainly positioning themselves for volatility. They're diversifying themselves across asset classes. That's probably long overdue. The buy up in gold, that's long overdue. And it looks like we're all about to cash in on technology, on the digital age from the Bell Labs in the early 90s with the use of AI, which will make a lot of it more intelligible once it stops hallucinating. And I think really we probably should deal with copyright issues, so on and so forth, so that creators can get some money so we can improve the LLMs and have them hallucinating less and so on and so forth. So coming to some sort of happy consensus there would be good, because you don't want a wrong answer being spat out half the time. Anyway, that's my wrap up for 2025, 3 quarters through at the end of, towards the end of October. There's going to be a lot more to say coming into December and then coming into 2026, but it's going to be more of the same, I reckon, with a bit of a boom prior to maybe some cooling down before the middle of next year, 2026, before the midterms at the end of 2026 in America, where less will happen politically in America. Anyway, please let me know your thoughts. Thanks.